Ready?
Yeah.
Are we dancing?
Where you wanna go?
Welcome to
Welcome.
Recovering Addict. How's everybody doing out there today? Can y'all hear us? We ain't got no technical difficulties today? Let me know.
That was an intro.
I'm that out of shape.
Yeah, we chunky.
Oh my goodness. Linky got a sign for everybody today. I got it displayed right there. Hi. How's everybody doing tonight?
They can hear us. Can you see us?
Yes. What's up, Troy? That's what I do when you guys make me happy, because you're here and you can hear and see me. No technical difficulties today. That's good. That's real good. I got me a new camera today, so I hope I got all the glitches out. I'm not guaranteeing anything. Who knows? This may be a disaster in about 10 minutes. Oh, what's up, Troy? What's up, Mama? Hey, Merk. Good and good. I'm glad to hear. Veronica, how's it going? Who else we got in the house? Oh, cool.
Mom of Kenny, welcome.
Veronica, we're glad you're here and still sober too.
Told you I could type 70 words a minute. Did you see that? Did you hear that? Woo! Veronica, stick around. Everything good, Veronica? You're the one that had the meeting, right? And last night everything went really well, if I'm not mistaken.
Hi,
Merk's doing good. What's up, Nicole? You
Hi,
missed our
Nicole.
fun dance intro. You got to go back and rewatch it after we're done. It's the most dancing I've done. I haven't danced like that since I was drunk.
Still a good dancer. Better.
Yeah.
Better
Made
as
me
a
tired.
solo dancer.
Made me tired. How's everybody's day? My day was good. I'm drinking coffee at night on a Thursday because I don't have to work tomorrow. And I don't care. I'll go till midnight tonight. I don't care. Damn, Troy, good job. 1:30, huh? Let me see where I'm at. Watch it magically be my 6-month birthday. That would be awesome. 166 for me. Can't see it. 166 should be 213. But right here at day 47, I relapsed. I drank some whiskey. I ain't gonna lie, my addict got in my head, and I believed him. My addict talked them into that it was a good thing, and I had to start my birthday over at 47 days into my sobriety. Good day, but bored. This whole quarantine thing, oh yeah, got us bored too. Nah, not really. Well, I'm glad you're getting through it. Our day was kind of hectic in a sense too. So last night, my oldest boy, Amos, he came down with a fever. And you know what that's like this time of year, or not this time of year, but this epidemic in the world we're living in. So I call or text my supervisor, and she's like, well, you better go take him to the doctor. So I go to work. Felice takes him to the doctor this morning. They give him a strep test. It's negative. So they decide they're going to test him for the flu. They come in hazmat suits. I wasn't there. She was there. And so she calls. We have the same supervisor because we work in the same program and all that stuff. Story for later. And tells the supervisor what's going on. He tells me, get out of the building. I got kicked out of work today. I'm not going to complain. He's like, just go take a long lunch and we'll see what the doctors say. Of course, the doctors didn't call back when they said they would. I went out to my truck. I may have fell asleep. I may not. I cannot confirm nor deny. But that's where we're at. We're waiting for the doctor's phone calls to see what Amos's results will be. So tonight, everybody, I have two guests. I have three guests, actually. First guest that's going to come on for a few minutes. His name's Ray. I was in an IOP with him. I'm going to let him jump on here, tell his story, his struggles. He's got a great story, a great recovery story as well. And I was in IOP with him for, I think he came in maybe 2 months after me. So we were in there for a good 3 months together. And we're still, once you're in recovery in an IOP like that, and you're that close to people 3.5 hours a night, 5 days a week, and you're telling them stories you don't want your mom to know, you could become family. We know stuff about each other that his family don't know, and I don't know. And my family don't know about me. That's just how we roll. So Diana's in the backstage too. She's going to be there for a minute. Is Steve going to join you tonight, Diana? Give me a thumbs up if he is. If not, let me know. I'm going to have Ray go ahead and click on that link, Ray, and we'll pull you in here in a minute and get you going. You want to tell them about your day?
Well, my day was running around trying to get Amos tested for whatever he has and all the uncertainty and hazmats of it all, which was really not cool. It was kind of scary because they didn't test him for the corona, but they didn't seem real sure he didn't have it. I think that's why she came in a hazmat suit. But anyways, I show up to work and they basically told me to go home. So I went home. So other than that, just been waiting for phone calls all day.
And I got my sodium checked today.
Oh yeah, while we were there, we got Linky's sodium checked. We have to make sure it's between 137, 146 because of his accident he was in.
Okay.
So he takes medication to help his body retain water and regulate his sodium levels. So we went and
Beatus.
he's got diabetes insipidus, which is not the sugar kind of diabetes.
Sodium.
It's a very different kind of diabetes. That should come back okay too. He does a really good job keeping that, drinking his water and taking his meds.
Sweet. Let me shoot Ray a text and I'll have him jump on here with us. Let him tell his story and then we'll bring another person on with us as well. We'll have a few guests tonight. A few guests of inspiration, some with a couple months of sobriety, some with 6 years of sobriety. Oh, sweet. So she just texted me. She said Steve's going to come on here too as well.
Oh, they're there.
So they're sitting backstage right now. And I'm going to pull Ray on first. I'm going to have Ray tell his story. We'll talk to him for a minute, and then we'll pull Diana and Steve on, and then just see where it goes from there. I'm just waiting for Ray to pop up backstage, and then we will talk to them. Okay, looks like Ray's coming on backstage, getting his phone set up. Way to go, Linky. This is, whoa. What's up, James? You know we doing the boop thing. I'm going to take your advice and not swear tonight. Okay, you guys. So I'm going to introduce this guy to you. His name's Ray. We were in an IOP together for, like I said, 3 months. And I'm going to let him tell his story to you. This is what his face looks like, all sideways.
What's up?
Why headphones on? What's up, Ray?
Why am I upside down?
Because your phone didn't do its automatic twist thing. That'll work.
Okay. Let's see, I'm at 63%. That should be good.
Cool. Well, Ray, welcome to Recovering Addict. We got some people out there watching you, and I told them how we were in an IOP together for a good 4 months, and you have a good story to share, and I was just going to let you take that time and tell us about yourself.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Ray. I'm an alcoholic addict. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. Let's see. So how far back you want me to go?
How far back you comfortable going?
Go get your
Well,
Take your meds.
You don't have to give us the deep dive version. Just give us in the nutshell. Maybe share a couple of your worst moments in life, if you as far as you want to go into that, and how and why you decided you need recovery, and what you want to keep doing to remain recovered.
Sounds good. I think like a lot of people out there that get involved in alcoholic, they were taught at a young age, either through their parents or somebody in their family, how to drink or watched them how to drink. In my case, it was my father. He's been a raging alcoholic as long as I've known him. I shared in the IOP that when first time I remember meeting him was when I was 6. My parents got divorced young. But when he used to take us on the weekends, he used to keep us in the back seat of his Cadillac, and he would give each of us kids, I was 7 at the time, a can of beer. And we would be going to the Colorado River or wherever, and he would tell us green light, which meant we had to drink the beer, and then he'd say red light, which meant stop drinking the beer. And that's kind of how he kept us under control.
And you were 7 years old?
I was 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Drinking games at 7 with your dad in the back seat.
Yeah. That was his babysitting technique. So kept us quiet, but we'd often pee our pants in our sleep. So I think he lived to regret that one. But, right. So anyway, that's how I was kind of introduced to alcohol. And I don't know how much I want to go into that. It wasn't a good relationship, good upbringing. He's a very violent drunk, and I think that set the stage to a certain extent. Not that it's totally his responsibility. I mean, at some point I became an adult and made my own decisions, but I think the nut was planted early. And so when I became a teenager, I grew up in the 70s. And so, that's, it was more about drinking and getting high than going to school. In fact, I was what you considered a parking lot kid in high school. So, stay out in the parking lot, get high, drink, and run when the vice principal came looking for us, type of situation. And of course, I had it all figured out. Quit high school 3 months before graduation, which was one of my smarter moves in life. And bounced around for several months, pretty much stoned all the time with my best friend Ben, and doing nothing but going to the beach, scrounging for money and doing whatever we could to get more beer or marijuana or whatever it was that we can get a hold of. Not much ambition in life. And then for some reason, when I turned 18, that following summer, I decided to join the Navy. I guess there was some spark of sanity in my brain in there after all. And I convinced my best friend Ben to join the Navy with me. And that went really well. I straightened up, got my GED, went on to do some fairly significant things. Was third in my class in our aviation class, and so I got my choice of duty stations and spent the next 3.5 years in Italy, traveling around Europe. Met my beautiful wife of 40 years now there, and have had 3 beautiful children, got 2 grandchildren, and life has gone pretty well for me. I went back, got my bachelor's degree, and then got my master's degree, my MBA. So I thought I was on a fairly decent trajectory with life, doing well. I wasn't drinking a lot. I pretty much gave up on the drugs. Smoked a joint once in a while or whatever, but nothing crazy. And then about, 15 years ago or so. I, for some reason, started drinking vodka and started doing it by myself. And I was one of those closet drunks. I'd go down in the garage, pretend to be doing some project, and down a fifth of vodka or whatever. And I hit it pretty well from Rita for a while, but it continued to get worse and worse. Let's see. I had a really good job as a director of operations for a medical facility. Was making fairly good money, and ended up hurting my back. And that's when I was prescribed pills, pain pills. And of course, my type of personality, I was addicted the first pill I took. And one pill worked for 4 hours, and I did that for a while, and then it became 2, and then it became 5, and then a prescription of 60 Lortab pens that's supposed to last a month were gone in 5 days, 4 days, etc. And I was able to convince a few different doctors that my back was in bad shape. So getting pills was fairly easy. And of course, being the smart guy I am, I decided that the pills weren't good enough by themselves. So I continued to drink and take pills until one day in 2013, I woke up at the hospital in the emergency room, and there was a cop sitting beside me. No idea how I got there. It totally blacked out. Apparently, I had gotten pretty wasted, got in my truck, decided to go somewhere. I have no idea where I was going. I don't even know how he found my keys to get the truck started. But before I crashed, I had crossed a 4-lane highway. That's a very busy highway. So to this day, I still have no idea how I did that, not wrecked or killed somebody. But I eventually ran into a fence, somebody's side fence on the street, and come to find out that I missed a jogger that was on the sidewalk by about 2 feet. That's how close I came to almost taking another life. That was tough, waking up by the side of that cop and him explaining what happened. My wife was there. My youngest daughter was there at the ER as well. And you'd think that an experience like that would get a hold of you, would wake you up, would get your attention, and it did for a while. After I went through all the court and all the fines and the community hours, et cetera, it's associated with. Let me back up. They ended up dropping it to just reckless driving rather than a DUI. So they didn't give me any jail time, but there was serious fines involved. I had $8,000 worth of damage to my truck, and 400 hours community service. But anyways, that did hold me for a while as far as taking pills, drinking, etc. I would still drink a beer on a daily basis, but I was no longer getting drunk. Let me put it that way. But I didn't stop drinking.
Right.
That lasted 3 or 4 months until I started getting my pills again, started getting my vodka again. Had, I think, drank a half a gallon of vodka during Sunday into Sunday evening, and I don't know how many pills I took, but got up Monday morning, somehow got dressed and went into work. And as I said, I had a really good job making decent money in this medical facility, and walked in, and of course I was falling all over the place. I couldn't put two words together, let alone a sentence. And they tested me on the spot, and 2 months later, the board called me in and they fired me. So I lost a job that I had for 10 years that I was fully committed to retiring with. And I would have been able to retire early had I wanted to. At least financially, we would have been in a situation.
Wow.
But that was gone because I didn't learn my lesson for the 25,000th time.
Like the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly. So it took me 8 months to find a new job. And it was through a friend of mine that I think felt sorry for me that finally hired me. And did all right for about a year, started working my way up the ladder, and started making a little bit better money, started getting comfortable, and started hitting the vodka again pretty hard. Went back to the doctor that I had originally started getting my pills from. I hadn't seen him for a couple of years because I bounced around from doctor to doctor, and convinced him that my back was in bad shape and he needed to put me back on pain pills. So I was right back into the cycle. Didn't take long to be back to that, sitting in the garage by myself, drinking a fifth a night, a gallon or so over the weekends, not getting anything done. Ended up getting called in to work, probably within the first year anyways, and got fired from that job as well, for poor performance, lack of performance. I think they were fully aware of what I was doing, at least the alcohol part, because I'm sure I went into work on many occasions and you could smell like a distillery. You can't drink that much and not sweat it out of your pores in the morning,
Oh yeah, I went to work stinking many times. So you kept this cycle up pretty much until you landed in Action Recovery with me, right?
Yeah, actually, the last time this happened in October, and I was getting pretty.
In 2019?
2019, yeah.
Okay.
I was getting pretty depressed. I had a job. I didn't really like it. I was getting more depressed. The more depressed I got, the more I drank. Basically, my wife sat me down and said, she can't keep living this way. After 40 years, God bless her, why she kept me around so long, I have no idea. But I finally pushed her to that brink, and she said, I found this place that I want you to go to. It's called Action. So we went in and did our intake, and I basically, in that 40-minute intake where they talk to you about, what's going on with you, what's your history, basically. I got maybe 3 words in. My wife and the counselor that was doing the intake basically talked the whole time. My wife gave her a check right then and said, yeah, he'll start Monday. And man, talk about resentment. I was pissed.
Oh, yeah.
I was pissed off. I felt pushed into it. I felt I had no choice. I mean, I didn't want to continue to drink. I didn't want to continue to be that person, but I didn't feel that I had any input into joining this IOP.
Oh, okay.
That's where I'm kind of going with this. So that first week was tough for me. Not only did I not know anybody in the circle of people, and of course, all of us, when we first start these, are extremely uncomfortable to begin with, but you put resentment for being there on top of it. There was a couple of days that first week where I sat in the parking lot and almost drove off.
Yeah.
I thank God every day I didn't. I thank God every day I didn't, because I learned so many things and met so many wonderful people that are now part of my family, that my extended family, that have really helped me. And I've tripped up a few times. A month into the program, my cousin gave me a special cookie, and I didn't even think about it. I just ate it. And that was very uncomfortable, having to come back to the group, initially lie about it.
I remember that.
Get called out on the bullshit and have to fess up, and but you guys were wonderful to me. I mean, you beat me up, but then you picked me up, dusted me off, and said, yeah, we've all done it. Don't do it again.
That's our
And,
our family in recovery, isn't it? So what's your clean date right now?
well, I had 5 months, and then last week I drank.
What?
Yeah.
Well, tell us how that happened.
I think, well, I believe there was a combination of a couple of things, really. One, I took advantage of the fact that my wife had to go to a conference in Georgia, so I was alone.
Okay.
And I think that maybe started me thinking like a couple weeks out before. I don't remember consciously thinking that, oh, she's going to be gone, so I'm going to try a beer. But certainly the seed was planted, and I started thinking about it. And the other part of that is, I think after crawling out of that hole and walking on the surface again for 5 months, I quit watching out for the other holes in the ground and kind of felt that maybe, I got a handle on this, and stepped right into another hole and drank. And man, I tell you that this last one has been painful.
So what's going on with you and your wife right now? Does she know that you relapsed? And
oh yeah, my whole family does. I told them everything.
So what is your plan forward from here? So obviously some back doors didn't close, and like we all talk about, we've when we stop working our program, that's usually the day that it starts, and then given the opportunities when we actually take the relapse, but the relapse actually starts before that. Like Sober James, he has a awesome video on how he almost relapsed, and he got ahead of the thing and made a video and just threw it out there that he was about to. Do you see anything that you could have done to stop and prevent it, knowing she was going out of town? Could you have told anybody? What did you learn from it, and what did you learn from it, and what are you going to do to prevent it from the future?
Well, there was a couple of things. I mean, obviously, I've got a great sponsor. Love the guy to death. He's just been really super supportive prior to. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's got a good track record, and I should have reached out to him. Obviously, that should have been my very first thing when I had that thought. Because what happened was, what happened was, I was driving home from work, thinking about going to my home group, and the next thing I realized, I'm at the liquor store.
Oh, geez.
And I had the thought, okay, put the bottle down, walk the heck out of here, and call your sponsor. And this is not what you want to do. Because I knew, even before I bought it, I knew it'd come out. I knew there was no way to hide it.
Right.
It just is that's the nature of the game. I mean, you can't hide that stuff. And yet I did it anyways. And so, yes, I should have called my wife. I should have let her know. I should have called you. I should have called anybody in our group.
Yeah,
I should have reached out, and I didn't. And I think at that time I was too far gone. Even though I hadn't drank yet, I was already committed to it.
Yeah.
So there was no backing out. I think. I mean, that's kind of how it feels to me.
You allowed the addict back in.
Yeah.
Started listening to him again.
Yeah. And he took over, and I don't want to say wasn't strong enough to beat him off, because I think I am. I just didn't want to. Is what the simple truth is.
Yeah, you saw an opportunity and jumped on it.
I did. Even knowing that I would end up regretting it.
Yeah. So did you immediately confess, or what happened there?
Yeah, well, we talked that night because she was still in Georgia, and she knew. She could hear it in my voice.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she knew and asked me, and I told her yes. And so she hung up on me.
Right.
And the next day we talked, and we've been talking ever since. But yeah, she's fully aware of it. I went in and talked to Jim. In fact, it was that night that Rob transitioned. And I don't know if you remember, I walked in and I sat down and I left.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Because I was still buzzed, and I didn't want to disrespect Rob and his transition. And I did talk to Rob on Sunday, this past Sunday at the meeting, and he told me he wished I would have stayed anyways.
Yeah.
I felt like it was, I was just disrespecting his journey by being there still buzzed. So that's why I left.
Well, the saying, you can't go around after what we've been through. What is the saying? Gut full of liquor and a head full of AA. You just can't be content with that. And I think that's what you experienced. And that's a good lesson there.
There was certainly no joy in the process, through the process. There was no sense of euphoria. There was no relief. There was nothing but anger and frustration and guilt with every shot I took. So
that's a bummer. Well, I'm here for you. You can call me anytime you want and do from here on. Maybe I'm going to start calling you and checking on you more often. And I think we should all do that for each other. I do have a special guest backstage. I'm going to bring them on with us, and we can all just chit chat and talk. Them well, and I know them well. This is Diana and Steve. Hey guys, you want to? Well, we can't hear you. Diana, you muted yourself again.
Again.
Good job, Diana.
Hey, how are you?
She's the technical savvy one in the relationship.
Yeah. Steve, how are you?
Can't hear you. Turn your phone sideways and then we can see both of you. And somehow unmute yourself. Nope, still not working. I'm gonna take you out until you get your audio, and then I'll bring.
You know, one thing real quick. I'm not sure how you're doing on time, but one thing I really wanted to say is that that night before, so it was Tuesday night, I guess it was. My daughter called Matt. She got my phone and she called my sponsor, and he and Steve came over to the house that night.
So Steve, who we're about to talk to?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. They came over and they sat with me and talked to me and listened to me and, listened to my drunken ranting and raving and crazy talk. But man, that meant so much that they took that time. So
awesome. And here they are. They get their audio fixed.
Can you hear us?
Okay.
There you are. What's up, Steve?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing well.
I'm trying to figure
So
this out.
I'm gonna introduce you really quick. So if you guys have seen, I'm sure some of you have seen the video of Diana and Whitney as they came over and they were interviewed. So this is Diana. She was on the show Monday for a minute and kind of checked in with us. This is her boyfriend, Steve. And Steve is another recovering addict who has inspired me throughout my whole journey since I had my paradigm shift and the flip in my head. I go to a lot of the meetings that he goes to, and hearing him speak in the meetings has planted deep seeds of recovery and growth. And so, Steve, if you want, just in a nutshell, give us a little history on you and how you got clean up to 6 years ago, and then how you've remained clean.
Yeah. So, like so many of us, I started the journey into addiction rather young. It progressed. What I used and how I used became harder. I eventually went to needles. I started withdrawing from society, my family. The further I withdrew, the more that I used. Then I had a back injury, taking pills. That continued to progress until I left my wife and family, became homeless, wandered the streets. And the last 25 years of my using, I had to use on an everyday basis or be sick. And I arrived at the rooms desperate, willing to try almost anything. I was fortunate when I first got there. The people that went out of their way to help me feel welcome. They were those that really believed in the power of working the steps, to have a complete, well-rounded program, to get involved with service. And like I say, my desperation level was I was willing. The first 3 years of recovery, I walked to meetings every day. The first 3 years, I walked about 3,800 miles to meetings, went through 13 different pairs of shoes. Didn't matter what the weather was. I got my ass to a meeting. That first year, I relapsed 3 different times. Even though amazing changes were happening in my life, those changes were overwhelming. Being intimate with people and being transparent. When I would do those things, I would leave feeling naked. And like I say, it became so overwhelming, and I reached back to what was comfortable, and that was active addiction. And thank God I had a sponsor that, told me don't wait to get clean, get your ass to a meeting. And so each one of those relapses, I went back and sat in the meetings high on meth. And thank God I did. As uncomfortable as it was, if I would have waited to get clean, I would still be waiting today. And that's been 6.5 years ago. I'm a strong believer the miracle happens when I get honest in writing on the steps. It exposes those the character defects of my using, of my old ways of thinking. I've worked through the steps a few times. I'm a sponsor. I've been on convention committees. I've spoke at conventions. I try to take a nightly inventory. One thing that I know for myself is my recovery, the level of my honesty is in direct, my level of my recovery is in direct correlation to the level of my honesty. The minute I start lying to you for myself, if I lie to myself, I lose respect. And so the cornerstone of recovery is my honesty. And by no means am I completely honest. I lie about something every day. And that's where an inventory is important to me. Where doing an eighth and ninth step, making ends, admitting I did to. And that helps me keep my honesty at the forefront of my recovery. Because once I start lying, I guarantee you something's going where that lie, that old voice that says, it's okay, Steve, to get this, with a pill, a needle, a bottle, a straw. So if I'm not being honest with myself, that dishonesty will show itself in thoughts of you. So here we are today.
Are we all glitchy?
And that a little glitchy, yeah. What I understood everything you said. Yeah, I heard everything you said. It was a little
Did you
glitchy,
hear
but I
any of
understood
that?
everything you said. Yes, I heard it all. It was a little glitchy, but I heard it. And what I heard was the first paragraph of how it works. These two in technology.
Yes.
Leonard.
Well, you had asked me, I was trying to fix that just real quick, if I may. You had asked me, what am I doing going forward to?
Yeah, let us know. Tell us that.
Okay.
Ray.
So as we get done with or we transition out of our IPO, we get our packet back of all of our steps, all of our written assignments. So what I've been doing is I'm going back through each of my written assignments and looking at the questions, but also my responses to those, and trying to see maybe if I've left or was maybe not fully honest through those steps, to see if there's some more information or knowledge I can gain by going back through those. So I've put step 6 on hold for right now until I go back through the first 5 again.
Oh, good. When I relapsed, Rick made me do a refresher on step 1. And he didn't actually ask Jim to give it to me. Jim just gave it to me. I did it. And Rick, it was like a God thing.
Yeah, I did the same thing, if you remember, when I ate that cookie.
Oh, that's right.
So
That's awesome.
that has been great, man. I really, really appreciate the show. Thanks for putting it on.
Yeah, that's why we're here. So during the coronavirus thing we got going on, we're going to do this every night. 8 o'clock for me, 7 o'clock for James, and 6 o'clock for Nicole. That's all mountain time that I just spit there. And that's why we're here, is to talk and help each other recover. We have somebody in the audience. Her name is Veronica. You can see what her last comment was, but she was probably relapsing the same day you were last week. So you guys can feel each other. And then we got Troy in the comments who what did you say you were at 130 days today, Troy? And we had Polly in there, who he's got some sobriety under his belt. And then Sober James has been in the chat, and he's got 4 years under his belt. And so we're all here for each other, and that's why we're doing this. And everything that Steve said is the truth, because I don't know if you caught my show Monday, or maybe it was Tuesday, but I went through the first paragraph of how it works, and I broke down every sentence. And at the end of that, it's just straight up brutal honesty. Looks like we got Diana back on. Can you hear us now,
Can you
Diana?
hear- You're all glitchy. I don't know, like.
No, you're all glitchy. Hey, do you want me to, Diana, do you want me to make it feel like we're at home?
What?
I'll make it feel like we're at home. So the IOP that we were all three in together, we stared at this wall for 5 months, 3.5 hours every night.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I told him I like that other background better.
Well, now we're in recovery.
Step outside.
Now it's getting real.
Yeah.
So kind of breaks my heart a little bit, Ray. I wish that one. I feel bad for Rita. I hope she's taking it well. I hope she maybe socked you upside the head or something.
Yeah, it was a rough few days, but you know, she's been going through her own groups for almost this whole time as well. So after the initial shock and anger, disappointment, slugging, you know, we've been able to sit and talk through it and work through it. And you know, one thing that she told me that really has stuck with me is that she sees still some resistance in me. And I hadn't thought about it quite that way. So I've got to delve into that a little bit more, because I think that's pretty profound what she said, that, you know, I don't know if it's a lack of humility, if it's just a sense of rebellion or what, but I've got to explore that deeper, because I hadn't given that a lot of thought, that resistance was still, she can still see that in me. So
I can kind of see what she's saying, and what I kind of see, and Fleece will probably agree with me here, is that I don't think from the get-go of you entering treatment that you were there for you. I think you entered it for your family, kind of as that ultimatum that you talked about. And I think you need to maybe dive in. I'm not your sponsor or nothing. I ain't no counselor, but I'm just telling you my opinion. Into that resentment right there. Is there something in there that you haven't chose that you want to recover for yourself yet? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, that first week, I mean, I almost walked out several times because I was so pissed off about it, having felt I was forced into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I went through the same battle my first month and a half, my first 47 days there. I had that arrogant attitude of I volunteered to be here. I can leave. I don't have a problem anymore. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, let's see if Diana's back. Hold on. What's up, Diana? You back?
My phone is stupid.
You look good and clear now, and you sound better too.
You're like, you sound good for a second, and then it's all.
Yeah, your reception's really bad wherever you're at right now. I can hear Ray. Me and Ray are talking just like we're Skyping. And everybody in the comments says we're good. I think it's your connection wherever you are. You probably got bad reception.
Yeah. So you guys heard everything Steve said, though, right?
Yeah, and we were talking about that, and what Steve was spitting was the very first paragraph of How It Works, about that brutal
Absolutely,
honesty.
yeah.
And maybe that's something, Ray, that you could think about and maybe enlighten us on that. Because How It Works, let me pull it up real quick, and I want to read that first paragraph. And just we hear it in group all the time. And I think a lot of times when we're sitting there in our AA and the meetings are happening, we hear the same readings over and over, so we're not really concentrating on it again. But if you listen to the first paragraph of How It Works, it says rarely, and I heard that rarely was actually changed from never. It says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. So the people that can't be honest with themselves are the ones that fail. And whoever wrote this is the one says that they are unfortunates. They are not at fault. And he even kind of gives them some grace here. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from the grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I think Steve
that's
and
very,
me and anybody, it took me about 50, I've heard that, I don't know how many times sitting in AA and NA meetings, but to sit, read it, think about it, read it, think about it, and sit and meditate. Like the meditations, we always hear meditate, right? Meditate, meditate, meditate. When I think of meditations, I don't think of that mindless, I think of, because we are creatures created with a purpose-driven mind that can think and contemplate. So I take paragraphs and I chew on them all day if I have to. Just read it and think about it and just circulate it through your mind and things will open. And this week, How It Works, paragraph 1 has been just mulling over in my mind. And every time I think about it, it always goes back to that. If you can't be honest, you're going to fail.
That have that resistance in me still, and so yeah, I mean, obviously I was not being honest with myself or anybody else last week when I decided to use, and so that's the grace of this program is you get to pick your luck in and start working it again. You got just as much any other alcoholic out there to stay sober.
Agreed. And everybody works their program differently. And that we just all have to go through it our own
Bless
way. I said, bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm back. I've not been able to get back into action because I'm just getting over pneumonia. So I've been waited at home for this. My daughter actually found me a link, conference calls, AA meetings, so to them across the nation that have any 20 years of sobriety, and it's been very interesting hearing some stories.
Awesome, man. Well, it sounds like you're on the right track. You slipped and fell. It's not a relapse, it's a lapse, right? As Rick would tell us. And I'm glad you didn't drink yourself to death. That's a good thing as well. Because I think if I got time alone and relapsed, I would probably end up in the hospital because I would drink just like I drank and my body is not ready for it. There's a lag between us now.
Yep. Hang on. I need to plug in my around here. Dead here shortly.
No,
So,
you're good.
all right, I'm plugged in, so I'm good.
Right on. Hey, let's read the daily daily reflection. It's called prayer. It works. It has been well said that almost the only scoffers at prayer are those who never tried it enough. Having grown up in an agnostic household, I felt somewhat foolish when I first tried praying. I knew there was a higher power working in my life. How else was I staying sober? But I certainly wasn't convinced he, she, it wanted to hear my prayers. People who had what I wanted said prayer was an important part of practicing the program. So I persevered with a commitment to daily prayer. I was amazed to find myself becoming more sincere and comfortable with my place in the world. In other words, life became easier and less of a struggle. I'm still not sure who or what listens to my prayers, but I never stopped saying them for the simple reason that they worked. That's a good daily meditation there from Daily Reflections.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks for reading that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you're on this side of that. And now I know. And I know where you live now, too, because I got your rocking chair in my front room.
That's right.
I can come hunt you down now.
Do it, and do it. You're welcome anytime. Anytime
Awesome.
at all.
Okay, well, that does our hour, Ray. So we're probably going to wrap this up. And so we're doing this live every day until this Corona thing gets over with, or as long as we need to. So
All right, brother.
Cool. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for letting me share my story. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll be calling you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Night,
See
Ray.
ya.
Night.
Well, that was good. It wasn't kind of heartbreaking. That's twice I've seen him relapse in our program. We were right there with one another. I remember how I told you that if you were here last night, I talked about the assignments we have to read. And if you read them out loud and you have to redo them, Diana would make Ray redo his all the time. Diana was very, very critical on assignments once she grasped the concept. And Ray experienced the brunt of it. But I think it was for the better. Because I know once I experienced the brunt of the group having me redo assignments, I took it a little more seriously because it pissed me off. I actually had to be talked down a couple of times by Rob, which we'll have him on here one day. Rob's a staple in my recovery as well. Anybody got any questions? Oh, let's see what Polly says. Polly says, I got on my knees last night and prayed so hard to God and Jesus. I got to call the Catholic Church tomorrow and see if it's open. If it's open, I'm going to go there and pray the rosary and light a candle. Wow, good job, Polly. So real talk recovery from Veronica's how she found us. Polly, that's good. I enjoyed our conversation this morning and the texts I get from you. They're inspiring to know I got a homie in Philly with an accent I wish I had, because you got one of the coolest accents. Let's see what Ash is up to. I started rocking with Nicole, Die to Joy to the World's channel. So I got to always shout her out for that. Yeah, I know. I want to check out Merck's channel too. I didn't even think to check if he had a channel or not. I know that he's always posting good stuff and calling Nicole and all that one. Troy said before he left, everyone keep up the fight. Right on, Polly. Okay, so that's our hour. We are going to link tie. Hold on, I got to get Linker. This won't be complete. Linker!
News update on Amos. Influenza is negative. Now
That's
now I just gotta monitor his fever. If it gets above 100.4, take him back. And then get a letter from work saying I can go back.
Oh, geez. All right, so if you weren't listening at the beginning of the show, our oldest boy, he's 15. Don't be too alarmed, but maybe say a prayer for us. Had a fever, headache, and so we took him to the doctor this morning. We thought it was strep because he had really bad sore throat. Tested negative for strep. She walked off camera, and that's when she answered the phone from the doctor. He tested negative for influenza, which is I don't know if it's good news or bad news. I guess it's bad news because now we've been in contact with it and probably won't be able to go back to work Monday. Good thing we have a 3-day weekend. So we'll see. We got a hotline we have to call and all that kind of stuff. So keep us in your prayers. I'm going to grab Linky before we close the show because he'll be upset
Can
if
we
we
go get
don't.
him?
Yeah.
Let me go grab him. He's still got to get pulled in.
Oh, yeah. I can take these. I like to get comfortable after a minute. Makes me look more like a legit podcaster. Veronica, I know how you feel. I need this daily. Having Ray and those my core group. I call those people my core group, and I have to have them around. And I need to be in close contact. And I think we need to be in more contact than we have been. I think we kind of got all of us have transitioned, and it's a little bit of feeling of freedom when you transition from this place because you're locked in there. Once you decide you're going to commit to this IOP, it's 3.5 hours a night. 3.5 hours a night, 5 days a week. And it's intense and it's easy while you're there because every night you're being counseled by a group of awesome counselor. And then all of a sudden you get some freedom, and guess who's right knocking on your front door? And it's your addict mind trying to get back in. And so hearing you, Veronica, and the inspiration is from the last 3 days of what you were walking through gives me strength and hope. I wake up thinking about coming on here at night and hearing your guys' updates, talking to Polly and Ash, and just seeing that we're all sticking together because we recover better together. And it's true. We do. So awesome. Is there any last things anybody wants to throw up and comment, maybe chat? Maybe you guys have been praying for this burning desire. Does anybody, Linky drew this picture for you guys. So if you got a burning desire.
What did you show the picture?
I didn't, the camera doesn't pick it up. Has to be darker. Veronica says she wouldn't have made it seriously without coming on to these meetings. So don't forget, before I go, just to recap what we're doing until this coronavirus thing is going. We got Nicole, James, and me, 6, 7, 8 Mountain Time every night. And who knows what the future holds after doing this every night. Thanks, everybody, for watching. So we're going to end with Serenity Prayer and go on about our day. Ready? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Remember, stay strong, work your program, and don't forget, we recover better together. All right, good night, everybody.
Bye.